And after some last-minute hugs, kisses, and goodbyes from friends and family, 5 aviators board the Learjet Model 36A. The time is closing in on midnight when Wednesday night, April 3rd, will turn to Thursday morning, April 4th. Bart Gray, shown here on the flight deck with co-pilot Joshua Podlich, prepares to start engines while local media and onlookers stand by. The door closes and won't be reopened in Wichita until the crew returns Saturday evening. And as the 5 on board, 4 pilots and 1 observer, settle in before takeoff, let's take some time to appreciate how such a trip required a great deal of planning to reach this point.
If the timing works out.
The team has had several pre-flight meetings, some virtual, some in person, going over the details. This is the 10th crew meeting. Bart Gray heads up discussions as the instigator of this circumnavigational flight. There are 11 refueling stops to plan for. Gray points out to crew members the necessity of meeting strict in and out times at those stops to stay on schedule.
I think we can be a little ahead of schedule and be sitting in Palau planning to take off to land in Singapore at the exact minute that 4 o'clock window opens.
These pilots are experienced flying international and have experienced some of the upcoming stops. This Learjet is owned by Global Jet Care. It's a worldwide air ambulance service. Bart Gray is company president, co-owner. The cabin is normally outfitted with a patient's bed and 2 flight attendant seats. Those were removed and a custom-made mattress added for this flight. Now the plane draws a lot of attention from those attending a pre-flight party. That celebration at the Lee Aerospace hangar at the Benton Airport, where flight memorabilia was sold as a fundraiser for the Learjet 23003 restoration.
Okay, 100. I will get you. Hold on.
This whole community is like a quilt.
This is a great event, and it's a world record attempt and everything. But the main purpose we're doing all this is to raise funds for our 23003 here in Wichita.
Weber makes reference to this Learjet Model 23-003, which was featured in an earlier Positively Kansas story. It is unique as the first customer-delivered Learjet. The Classic Learjet Foundation is raising money to restore 003, and this Century Mission Round the World flight is doing the same by drawing attention to the Learjet's restoration. Weber is a jet pilot, but his role on this flight is as official witness. And though Weber says he's looking forward to the flight, there's an aspect of it that makes him nervous.
I'm very apprehensive about spending that much time over the water. It's something that, even though I love airplanes and I love boats, I usually don't try to mix the two. So,
for now, his apprehension is put on hold as the excitement builds in Wichita, with the plane taxiing away from the Bombardier Learjet Delivery Center.
the crew that I'm going with has so much experience to do this. They do it every day.
The 3 Global Jet Care pilots are used to flying overseas on medical flights. And then there's pilot John Bone, who's flown Learjets since age 20. The retired Delta Airlines pilot has flown around the world twice, once easterly, then westerly in his Cirrus plane. He knows what to expect.
I think our biggest threat for this flight is fatigue. And it's a long, even though there's 4 of us going and we've got some rest facilities, we're still going to be 55 hours if it goes as planned.
The Learjet makes a low pass as it takes off from Eisenhower Airport to begin its mission. To better appreciate this Century Mission flight, it will serve viewers well to learn about that first world flight that began April 6, 1924. In the early 1920s, several countries were competing to become the first nation with a flight crew to circumnavigate the world. The U.S. Army Air Service put together a team of 8 pilots and mechanics using 4 airplanes to make an attempt.
You know, hats off to those guys. They were the pioneers of the circumnavigation. They, of course, had nothing to go off of. They were figuring it out as they went.
Consider some of the differences between what those 1924 aviators had to deal with and what today's aviators will deal with to circumnavigate the world. What's amazing is to think about all the spare airplane parts which had to be placed around the world in advance for that 1924 flight.
The Navy, the Coast Guard, the Bureau of Fisheries, I think, all these people months in advance were setting up supply depots.
The spares included 15 extra engines, 14 extra pontoon sets, and enough spare parts to build 2 more airplanes. It took that Army team 175 days, nearly 6 months, to complete their journey. They had 74 stops and covered 27,550 miles.
The majority of places they were flying, an airplane had never been.
Those 1924 Army aviators didn't have any services at their stops around the world.
But the hardest part is definitely the logistics, definitely getting everything set up. Every country and every place we fly over has their own little quirks, of the timing.
From Wichita, the Century crew makes its first stop in Salinas, California. From there, it's on to Hawaii, then the Marshall Islands, and then Palau. Crew members record video updates along the way, which get uploaded at each stop so followers can keep track.
We're en route now from Koror, which is in the Republic of Palau, on their way to Singapore.
Minimizing ground time was a challenge at some of the stops.
So many places are just not in a hurry to do anything. So, and to try to get them in a hurry when they just want to hang out with us a little bit was tough.
And then there was a request to sing Happy Birthday to Bart Gray in the early morning hours of April 6th.
Okay, today is Bart's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
That's Sicily.
The crew is often asked, why go west into the wind instead of flying east with the wind? Gray says because a Learjet already holds the eastbound record, but not a westbound record until now. After Singapore, they had refueling stops in India, then Dubai on the Arabian Peninsula.
We're at 38,000 feet. We're just passing Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Next stops, Alexandria, Egypt, then Italy's island of Sardinia, and on to Portugal's Azores Island in the Atlantic. They were warmly welcomed on the Portuguese island, making the news in print and television.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
1924 fez a primeira circunnavegação aérea.
From the Azores, they crossed the Atlantic to Canada, their last stop before their final destination, Wichita. Their official landing was 7:16 p.m. April 6th. Wichita was living up to its windy reputation that evening. A large welcoming party greeted their arrival back where they started 2.5 days earlier. They were celebrated for their achievement.
We had a plan and we stuck to it. I mean, everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do, and we had a great time.
Gray's preliminary trip statistics say it took 54.5 hours to fly 20,008 miles. Add in the ground time for a total of 66 hours.
We had 0 maintenance issues the whole way, and couldn't have worked out any better. So,
what took months, several planes, numerous engines, and other plane parts to accomplish in 1924 took a few days in 2024.
we joked when we taxied in, we said, well, we beat them by 172 days, so not bad for 100 years of progress.
And now, this crew and their supporters continue their overall efforts to raising funds for the restoration of Learjet 23-003 and to see that the legacy which started in Wichita continues. This is Chris Frank reporting for Positively Kansas.